How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lo4f, and today I've just got a normal mission. It's not one of the contracts or anything. Yeah, this one's called Fixing the Service Station. It's going to be linked to kind of when you do a big lap of the map, I think, for like the final mission. But yeah, over here on the left-hand side of the map, it's not a service station or anything yet, but once you do this mission, you can see in the rewards section, you unlock it as like a refueling place, basically, and a truck repair place. Yeah, I need 4 lots of vehicle spare parts from the warehouse at the top. It looks like the line joins there, but they don't quite. I'm just going 2 different ways for the sakes of a different drive. You could obviously just go either way, really, and double back on yourself. It doesn't really matter, because they both points near enough meet back when it gets to the where you have to swerve off to the left. Yeah, I was just showing you quickly, because I'm taking Dan for this one. I knew I've done it before. He's a goddamn horse, but yeah, you can fit a loaf on Dan. You do have to like nudge it over to the side a little bit to let its wheels drop down, because well, yeah, you do, and then there you go. You can pack him. He still hangs on like a goddamn beast, and that's it. You just like pull him over to the left or whatever, so he drops down from the little air box filter thing. Yeah, with this as well, don't forget to lift your suspension up, because it does actually have active suspension. I kind of remember it now. I know it wasn't originally like that, but I kind of forgot that. Yeah, Dan's got the raisable suspension, which is pretty cool, because when I tested this, funnily enough, this I believe was one of, if not possibly even the first review video I did, and I was like, I wouldn't say harsh on it, but I don't know, I kind of got to the end of the video and was like, well, it's not had the best time, probably not the worst, maybe it's one I could consider. I need to get around to doing the other review things, to be honest, redoing, but either way, it was just something about it I still kind of liked. But the biggest issue in a way is it's obviously got 2 lots of axles at the back, but there's a whole massive lot of Dan sticking out the front. That's what she said. And yeah, there's only 1 axle, so when you're bouncing around, there's not a lot of wheels, not a lot of suspension that's catching the entire 2/3, the front 2/3 of the truck. And as you can see, it's already got a bit of a chin on him, so yeah, just having the raised suspension so it doesn't catch quite as much is just quite handy. This is pretty much where the roads meet. Obviously, I'm going to end up coming back down the road to the left at the minute. Here's a good example of where you catch the chin, but it is what it is. It's pretty good dip there and everything, so I don't really mind as long as it keeps ploughing ahead. While I was going along as well, I was actually going to start this video, or should I say I did start this to get the footage for this earlier with the Derry, not the one that's got rear steer and everything, the one that's got like the sort of liftable, just the axle that doesn't really do much of anything but kind of get in the way. At least they made it liftable now and everything, but yeah, if the option there was to remove it, the option was there to remove it, I would. Long story short though, I won't bother putting it in this because it's just more footage, doesn't really mean anything. You can go and try it for yourselves. I got yeah, the Derry, did it all up, got the low tray. This was already set up with the Derry, obviously apart from the loaf on his head. It was just painfully slow through the garage. I couldn't even get it into high gear when I was going out the garage, and then I went to turn, and the turning circle was horrific. I pretty much got out the garage where I took the first right, and I was like, yeah, no. Reversed it back to the start, disconnected it, and just carried on going through the list of trucks. This, by the way, is just a quick edit. It was tonight. I was, as you can see, I wasn't looking. I looked away at the last second. I was like, oh crap. Steered hard left, flung a panic winch out, but it was not to be. I did restart the footage at some point, but I ended up crashing later on, which wasn't, not even crashing, sorry, I just bounced, and I think one of the loafs unpacked, and I was like, nah, I'm just going to start it again. But for some reason recently, the saves, it's been taking me like really far back. Instead of normally you just load like 30 seconds a minute back, whereas tonight, yeah, ended up loading me like near enough back to the beginning of the map. Hence why I did this first part of the journey again anyway. So that bit where I just tipped kind of wasn't even an issue or anything, because it pretty much, yeah, started me back at the garage. So yeah, I went through back again, it's just easier to click on the truck store at the minute and just scroll through truck by truck and kind of think, well, which one would I take? I keep trying to pick something I've not driven for a little while if I can help it. Obviously, there's certain characteristics of this map I can't just get. I wanted to drive, yeah, the Harold, the Ford Clit 9000 or whatever the hell it's called. And yeah, it wouldn't do well on this. It's got no all-wheel drive and all the rest of it. It just wouldn't suit it. And yeah, as I was flicking through, the problem in a way again with this game is I was going to do the Derry, and then that was like, meh. I grabbed the P16, went to get all that done and all the rest of it, and then it was like, I can't have a saddle low. I don't really want a saddle high. I suppose I could have done a ramped flatbed, and to be fair, the P16 weight-wise isn't going to struggle hauling that thing around. But yeah, I don't really... the ramped flatbed thing drives me mad, and I have to use it quite a lot just because it is annoyingly convenient. But yeah, this was one of them where like I set this up for the Derry, and so I already had the whatever step deck trailer with the Lo4f on. Yeah, so I was just kind of looking, what can I have that'll actually, I can have a saddle low, but also kind of has some kind of guts to climb through the map, really. Nearly went there. It's a bit of a panic winch, not entirely sure what I got onto, but not complaining. Yeah, you can see as well, I know I've damaged a tyre. I could just stop at any point and fix it, but because I kind of took a bit of a whack on a rock back there, I kind of thought, sod it. For all I know, I'm going to fix everything, and then I'm going to take a stupid trollish hit 10 seconds later and delete the same tyre again and all sorts. As I was driving along, there's another goddamn professional just sat on the side of the road. I could already tell I'd nailed, well, you can see now there's no roof rack apart from the spare tyres left. So that's a Lo4f. I'll probably just recover back to the garage at some point and send them out on another mission with another truck. Yeah, I mean, to a degree, this partly turned into I was still wanting to take the step deck, so I've got that Lo4f. Just stubbornness and Lo4f things. Why I put the Lo4f on the roof? Well, as you can see, he's hanging on like a goddamn beast. And now with two of them, I've got, what, 600 repair points. Yeah, 400 fuel, because 120 per roof rack, but they've also got 80 litres each. And, what, 8 spare tyres? So, yeah, pretty prepared for any situation. And then obviously I've got Lo4fs scattered all over the place. Got to plan ahead for these things. It was like, was it yesterday's mission or the day before? Near one of the bridges where I just had like a scout fuel trailer sat there. Yeah, this little bit, for whatever reason. Funnily enough, yeah, I must have climbed through here twice. With one of the previous runs I did, I ended up disconnecting the trailer. So in fact, it must have been the green Lo4f that fell off, not even the orange one. So I disconnected the trailer, and I believe I drove through here with just the Dan, which didn't really make too much difference. I think it was just somewhere up here. I tipped a bit, and I was like, nah, I'll quit and reload. And then, yeah, it near enough loaded me like right back at the beginning. So I kind of had a second chance to go through, and yeah, this time I was like, well, sod it then. It's a sign, it wants me to keep the trailer. And yeah, double Lo4f goodness. And yeah, I'm glad I brought this out, to be honest, because the Dan, yeah, it's pretty happy with it. It's doing pretty nice. Even like back in the day, again, it was one of them where there's definitely plenty of things you could mention with the Dan. I mean, because it's got that like prop shaft sticking halfway down the back, you can't have a crane, even though in theory, like, its chassis is certainly big enough to accommodate one. I suppose it hasn't really got a roof rack option, but you get a goddamn horse on there, so I'll kind of give it a free pass for that. If you can fit a Lo4f on, that solves the issue for the most part. But yeah, there's a lot of vehicles, particularly as we keep going, where it just feels like they keep nerfing and nerfing it. This is one of those trucks that, I think anyway, it certainly does with me, but it kind of goes under the radar a little bit. It's a bit like the Voron Grad was an incredibly good vehicle. It kind of flew under the radar a bit though, because everyone's attention was on the Taiga being like just the obvious choice. I think with the Voron Grad, can't remember. I'm pretty certain we had to buy it because yeah, I bought it, and by pure chance the game decided to freak out a day later and stole it off me. So yeah, most of us had the Tego from going on Drowned Lands or whatever. We could give that a go. And yeah, I kind of feel like the same with this Dan driving it now. You can kind of hear with the revs when I'm going along. I'm only in high-low at the minute, so normally that's an absolute cock-blocking maniac for revs. Just loads of trucks. That's why I kind of just stick to high range, even though I know there's certain situations where it's like, yeah, maybe in this bit I could have done with an off-road would have been better, have the low range, blah blah blah. But it kills your rev so bad usually in the low ranges these days. It never used to as bad, but I'd rather just have my proper high gear, because that, yeah, if you can get a truck in high gear, that makes up for a lot of the rev caps and all the way they do that. This feels like it just has kind of been forgotten about a little bit, so they've not really tried to personally tweak this or nerf it, and yeah, it felt like it was coping with this map well, pretty decently. I mean, I've got a what's it called, the step deck, so it's a 5-slot full-on trailer. Possibly the what's it called, the sideboard trailer. That might have been. It's a little bit neater and compact. Probably sits a little bit higher, but it's not got its own little step deck for a goddamn horse of a vehicle. But yeah, I don't know. This truck feels nice. Like there's more revs you can hear when I'm going along, particularly when I'm actually in auto. It must be more than like a placebo, where I can just hear the engine revving, but it's the same. It does kind of feel like this, like, legitimately does have, yeah, decent revs. Funnily enough, the Lo4f is another one where even way back in the day, and it's still the same now, it's got an incredibly lenient high gear, but even when I tried the low gears and the high gear and auto and all the rest of it, that's another one that felt very lenient with the revs. That was one of the reasons I really liked driving it. So yeah, got to this point, I had to do a bit of faffing around, edited a little bit, because, long story short, disconnect the trailer, drove around, spawned a fuel trailer, filled the Jenny up, even though I didn't really actually need to. I believe it might have had enough fuel. Regardless, yeah, then attach the generator, turn the generator on, reverse back round, build the cargo, load the cargo, and then we're good to go. And yeah, you can see now and kind of hear it. Like I said, if it was pure just the placebo effect of the sound, I'd still feel like I'd get that similar frustrating slowness where you just, some trucks, it just feels unrealistic, like it's gone too far. And yeah, as you can see with this thing, it's got a nice combination of 51-inch tyres, which there's certain vehicles you can get bigger tyres than that, but I believe that's what's on like the Tega roughly, or that might have 50s. The Lo4f's going to be around that, the Lo4f AE. Zix is obviously a bit bigger than that, but it's a big fat custom kind of truck. Is it like 63s on that? Yeah, the Dolphin I believe has 51-inch. So for the most part, it's, and bear in mind that the Zix wasn't even added until phase, was it 4? No. What was it? The Amur region? Yeah, bloody hell it was. 5 must have been factory grounds and that. 6 must have been lowlands. And the other one. And yeah, this is number 7. Yeah, so we didn't have it for like a good year or more. Let's say, yeah, about a year. 51-inch tyres. This map has just kind of been, or not this map, sorry, this game in general, which I've sort of said before, that's why I always favour big tyres, is if you got something with 20-inch tyres in this game, doesn't matter how great and powerful the vehicle's going to be, it's going to stumble on everything. If you got something with 100-inch tyres, even if it was pretty gutless, it's going to reasonably, like, it's certainly not going to get wedged on a rock that's, yeah, a 10-inch rock or whatever. That's what she said. Yeah, so it just is what it is. If I like the bigger tyres, the better. And this thing just fits the bill. It's been nice driving it around. It's, even though it's got the advanced special and all the rest of it, it's still got a pretty nice pace to it because it has got decent sized tyres. And again, with the rev range, feels generous enough to where even with the advanced special gearbox and stuff, it's not I don't know, yeah, as you can see now, this particular section, the 6, albeit slowly, kind of drove through here the other day when I was doing the mission. The Kodiak, on the other hand, really wasn't happy with this section. And I said in that video, the Kodiak, yeah, I do kind of like, and I was pushing my luck a little bit with the amount of cargo and all the rest of it I was towing. But you can see by comparison, I ended up getting stuck on one bit. It might be there, yeah. I'm not sure if there's a root hanging around in the mud or if there's a rock buried. I was kind of trying to look around with the camera. I couldn't really tell. The camera's a bit iffy. Every time you try and look at the front of the truck and get a bit closer, it just shoves the camera like into the cab of the Dan and then puts the camera above it. Yeah, I couldn't really tell, because once I did a little winch and kind of just broke loose off something, I was able to just drive ahead again, so it's certainly capable enough. It wasn't really an issue. I mean, by comparison, it was along here with a 2-slot trailer that Kodiak was just absolutely tapping out every 5 seconds. Because, though, the rev caps were so severe and punishing that I showed it on the camera. I'm fully flooring the accelerator, and sometimes the tyres weren't even moving, weren't even attempting to. Go around this corner. It's it might even be arguable that the way I just drove to the warehouse, it might be worth turning around and going back that way. Not that I regret this way I've headed, just like I said, one for the sakes of the different map, but yeah, even little bits of footage like this, just there, like I could always fling a winch out to one of these trees, but yeah, there's just enough oomph there that I decided, you know, steer it left and right a bit, make sure I don't tip over. The Dan, to be fair as well, considering I'm balancing a loaf on its head at an awkward angle, so it's kind of sitting off to the left and all sorts. Yeah, it's not a nightmare for tipping. That particular bit of road along there does lean like the way I was just heading then. I'm leaning over to the left as well, so it's like not necessarily helping the situation, but as I was just keeping it pinned and trying to jiggle around that corner, it managed it. The inside of the step deck was kind of scraping on the inside corner. A little bit wedged there. I think there's like an extra boggy bit of mud there that you sink, and possibly a rock, because I'm sure the Kodiak, the little 2-slot with the metal beams in the back, that tipped at that point. And yeah, well, as you can see, and this is again the slower section of the map. Once I've sort of done all this climbing uphill, you get to drop the hammer a little bit. And yeah, just make sure, I don't know why I remembered it now, but make sure you actually grab vehicle spare parts. Just you don't want to do, obviously, the service spare parts, get all the way there. I can't even remember what mission it was on. Bloody ages ago, like over a year, I should imagine. But I did one mission that, yeah, I was supposed to take one on the other, I can't remember. I just remember I took the wrong one. That particular part of the memory stuck with me. So even now, I was considering, I didn't bother in the end, but I technically could have gone up that river I'm crossing right now. And yeah, I don't really know if it'd be quicker. It sort of doesn't matter. There's not really a decent way over to the left hand of the map, other than the way I'm going to go now, which means you have to, near as makes no difference, go back down to where the garage is and cut off that way. I suppose now the way I'm heading, it'll be turning off to the right, but there's a little glitch there. Apologies, not on edit. I slowed down a bit because that's a bit of a notorious chin whacker on that one. And Dan is no stranger to gigantic chins, so you've got to be, I'd say be careful, but to be fair, I mean, yeah, I'm being a little bit frivolous with my driving, as usual. And again, I'm not even always looking at the TV. That's probably like 100 times per video I make that I'm physically looking at my phone, my cat, where my coffee is, something other than paying attention while I'm doing. I stopped there, just I wanted to save the footage. I couldn't remember if I saved it when I was at the warehouse, so not only did I panic then, thinking, oh crap, have I like let it go too long and I'll end up losing the first bit of the footage. I believe the Dan could climb over that little rock section there, by the way. It wasn't really Dan I was worried about, I just thought maybe the step deck will catch, and then I was also curious, like, see how well plows through like the mud to the right. And yeah, as you can see, I mean, I'm happy with it. He's doing a good old job. Like, feels like it's putting an effort in, and I like that because the goddamn horse puts an effort in. But there's a lot of trucks that, yeah, you just kind of like, eh. I miss how it used to used to put a bit more oomph into situations. Whereas, yeah, this thing's ticking along nicely. And again, the fact that I've got too low a trailer, there's 4 cargo instead of 5, but I really don't think that'd make a lot of difference at this point. And overall, Dan sits not amazingly high. I'll admit there's certainly other vehicles if you wanted like the saddle, the step deck to sit higher up. But again, it's decent enough, 51-inch tyres. It's nice as well that the saddle sits really far at the back, particularly with the saddle low on the Dan. There's another goddamn horse. And then, yeah, when I saved the footage a minute ago, I then forgot if I'd even done that. And when I got here, I was like, oh god, I'm just going to save it again, just to be safe. So you can see I'm a little bit further up the road, but I'm where that qualification race was. Yeah, the garage is pretty much down here and to the left. One thing I would say when I was driving Dan is the steering is a little bit slow to react. So particularly on this map, because you've got a lot of these ruts in the road. The prime example is that first, sort of back in the first 5 minutes of this video where, yeah, I wasn't looking and I just swerved off to, well, not swerved, I didn't turn, and the ruts in the road kind of took me quite efficiently over to the right, and then, yeah, as I looked back, tried the hard left in a panic winch, but yeah, it was too late. And there was just 1 or 2 times tonight where I noticed, it's a bit slow to steer, but I was going to say oversteer, but not literally oversteer where the back drifts out. Like, it oversteers sometimes. You sort of turn in, and because it's a little bit slow to go back to the middle, you might turn a little bit, even if you're just letting go of the stick and you're used to just the truck naturally floating back to like its tyres just facing forwards. Yeah, it sometimes took a little bit longer and I turned a little bit too much around the corner, etc. So you can see a load of roots in the ground here. I nearly said floor then. Remember someone said about 2 years ago, if it's outdoors it's the ground, if it's indoors it's the floor. And then I asked what about the ground floor. But yeah, there is root. I'm just saying, Rootman, Rockman, they've been doing overtime on this map. So again, getting a bit of a lean on there. Flung a little panic winch out just to be safe. Let that tree know. But yeah, there's plenty of trucks that would be tapping out now. Or at least really not making the drive enjoyable. At this point, I was going to swerve over to the left just to miss this tree that's blocking the road. The steering was so slow, at about now I was like, oh, sod it. I will hit the tree. And it did a nice thing. It kind of died pretty quickly instead of forcing me to stop for 5 or 10 seconds before it does its little drop down a foot and become, I don't know, like where you can drive through it. And yeah, some other bloody tree got wedged on that a bit. I mean, at least with Dan's chin, even though he's got a hefty old chin on him, I've put the bumper on where it doesn't really have any bars going under the chin, so at least it's kind of got an angle to it. So it doesn't just automatically dig in like the Colob was an absolute beast back in the day. It still probably would be now, because it's pretty squared off chin by comparison. Yeah, this thing for the most part, I mean, it's not Tatrin levels of like, you know, a 45-degree angle. Tatrin's like a boat chassis. It's pretty much everything you hit. To the point, the only time it doesn't come in handy is when you want to wedge up against a tree, and it instead of hitting the tree, it kind of ramps you up in the air and can flip you. But yeah, I mean, again, all these rocks that are scattered around in the water, between the raisable suspension and the 51-inch tyres, it's just enough that, you know, 98% of rocks are not really an issue. Again, I'm not entirely sure what I've caught on there, but I'm aware that the step deck, where it steps down and it's got its legs, like when you detach the trailer, it puts them out. I believe that might be scuffing a little bit on stuff. I used to always find this step deck felt like a sled by comparison. It just, even if it was scraping the ground, it never really seemed to dig in. But kind of, I don't know, say in the last 6 months, sort of withdraw that statement a little bit, as a few times I've noticed it does feel like it gets a little bit more caught than it used to. Either they've done some into the trailer, or it's just the nature of the maps as they keep going. But even now as well, it is pretty generous as well at letting you skip up the gears. There was, I think, 1 or 2 times where it was forcing me to stay in first gear. And again, because it is the advanced special, it's probably a little bit more lenient when it's going to let you go up the gears, because they're kind of more squidged together, they're shorter ratios and all the rest of it. But yeah, just overall, like, I recommend Dan, especially for a mission like this, where it's probably one of the bigger missions, and, well, it's not even a contract, but in this entire playthrough, really. I did 4 metal beams the other day, that's probably the biggest mission. This has got to be like top 3 or something. So most things just want you to do like 1 metal beams or stuff like that. And yeah, I'm glad I picked that in the end. I'm glad I abandoned the Derry. I don't dislike the Derry on certain maps, it's got its charm, it just really wasn't fitting in with this map. Not just the slowness, it doesn't have the right tyres really, the axle's in the way, but yeah, how slow it was to steer as well. It was not good. But yeah, I'm glad I did get myself a Dan. And you can see the goddamn horse. It's been hanging on this entire time. Other than, yeah, again, when I crash. But particularly with the quit and reload method. Sometimes if the game's wasted my time earlier, I'll get it back that way. But other times, I know if it's just purely my fault, I'm kind of not even happy with the footage. If I crash while I'm trying to pay attention, that's one thing, but when it's kind of just me trying to, yeah, I'm talking to the cat or I'm looking at my phone or something, it's sort of feels a little bit harsh on the vehicle that then, yeah, crashes and then flops around struggling for a while to get back to its wheels. I was trying to just fire a winch out that way, see if I could kind of Spider-Man swing my way around that corner to not have to do a 3-pointer. And then, yeah, get to this point, select that, drop these 4 off. No animation going on or anything, but it says missions done. I can't remember ever seeing it before. You can see on the box I've unlocked, it says press square to show rewards, and yeah, I mean, the square I'm sat in now is the repair square, and the one just in front of me is the fuel one. 6,600 or whatever. Pretty, yeah, it's alright. I'm not really bothered about that these days, but after the money glitch cheat, the XP obviously means sod all. But yeah, overall, it was a good run with Dan. I was happy with him. Yeah, horses, goddamn professionals. Spares and repairs for days. And yeah, I'm glad I got this unlocked, because then the last stage 3 mission is like a race around the island, so I might end up needing this. But yeah, that's about it for today though. I hope you enjoyed, I hope that helps. Thanks for watching, thanks to my Patreon members. Get yourself a loaf, because it's a goddamn professional, and I'll be back soon.